If I can be serious for a minute.
Welcome to Flashback Bump, where a man with a microphone talks about professional wrestling. Today's topic is the Monday Night Raw from June 24th, 2002 at the Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio. This is a return show. King of the Ring 2002 was the previous night, where we saw, among other things, The Undertaker maintain the undisputed title in a match with Triple H, and Brock Lesnar was crowned King of the Ring. A little bit of a disappointing pay-per-view in my opinion, but I will cover that at length in a future episode. Typically, I'm excited about pay-per-view return matches. Generally, it's a heavyweight title rematch, or some kind of acceleration of an already established feud. But tonight, in the Gund Arena, we are introduced to Ruthless Aggression. The show opens with Raw superstars surrounding the ring, and Vince in the center, and he's telling everyone that they need to get their shit together. He uses the term Ruthless Aggression, which we now recognize as the moniker for this whole era following the Attitude Era after Stone Cold's departure. I think this is a pretty forgettable promo. I always like Vince going over the top, but he stumbles a little bit more than usual. The NWO comes out, and as excited as I've been for Shawn Michaels' return, he doesn't seem to be that sharp on the mic right now either. There's really no feud going on with the NWO and Vince, so I'm not sure what it is that they're setting up. There is, however, an existing feud with the NWO and the wonderful tag team of Goldust and Booker T. So Booker T and Goldust get on the mic for a minute. There's a little back and forth. Nothing too special. It's nice to see the Ruthless Aggression era start in such an official way. I do like that this transitional period in the WWE has a name now. It's nice to hear it spelled out. I have basically no familiarity with the Ruthless Aggression era, as I stopped watching around the year 2000. So on to the matches. First up, we have a tag team match, Bradshaw and Spike Dudley versus William Regal and Chris Nowinski. Chris Nowinski, I believe, was a runner-up on the first season or two of Tough Enough. I've never watched that show, so I'm not sure. He's got a good physique, he's big, he's tall, he's okay on the mic, but he doesn't seem quite ready for TV to me. He's not selling well in this match, he's not working his kicks against the mat, and he botches some kind of a backbreaker move on Spike Dudley that could have really hurt him. He almost drops him right on his head. It's pretty ugly. It definitely feels like we're feud building here, because this match lasts under 3 minutes. The crowd's not really into it. I'm going to give it 1 star. The next match, I'm sorry to say, is just more feud building. We've got Bubba Ray Dudley versus Eddie Guerrero, two guys I really like, two good workers. I was really looking forward to this match, except there is no match. It goes a whopping 1 minute in length. After this, we get a tease for Rey Mysterio Jr. joining the company. In big font, he's coming. I know enough about pro wrestling to know who Rey Mysterio is, so I recognize the mask that they're showing. I don't know that I've ever seen him wrestle. One thing I keep scratching my head about during this era is why WWE keeps bringing in new talent. I mean, their roster is already massive, that's why the brand extension was necessary. They're bringing in people from Tough Enough, most of whom are not quite ready for TV. They're building up new guys like Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar, and there's still a steady drip of talent from other companies, particularly WCW. Don't get me wrong, the more talent is probably for the better. When you bring back Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels, absolutely, I'm all for it. But I think you gotta cut the faucet off at some point. I mean, you've only got 2 major shows. I don't know that anyone was really watching Velocity or Heat. After this, we get a great segment, Goldust the Crocodile Hunter. I don't want to make a bad pun here, but honestly, everything that Dustin Runnels does right now is turning to gold for me. I've always loved Goldust's weirdness, how different he is, personality-wise, from the rest of the roster, and him and Booker T make a very strangely compelling duo. In this segment, Goldust is sneaking into the NWO locker room, treating it like a wildlife adventure, and ends up tricking X-Pac into an ambush where Booker T is waiting. I do want to talk a little bit about this combination of Goldust and Booker T. I would never have thought to put these two together, but the goofiness and the sense of humor of Goldust really softened Booker T. When he first came into the company during the invasion, he was so self-serious, and all the ridiculous stuff he did with the "Can you dig it?" and the spin-a-rooney, it didn't seem like the crowd was quite into it because he was taking himself way too seriously. But when you mix in the self-depreciating humor of Goldust, and make these two play off each other, it's clearly helping Booker get over. All the stuff that he used to play straight is now being played for laughs, and the crowd's really eating it up, and so am I. Next, we have a You're Fired match. Tommy Dreamer versus Raven. Two ECW guys facing off, so Vince can see who has the Ruthless Aggression. Pretty short match here. Really nothing notable, except that I don't care about Tommy Dreamer at all, since I don't know ECW very well. Raven I've always liked. I think that goes back to playing WCW NWO Revenge for the N64. Raven always seemed really cool. I liked his rock star grunge vibe, so I was always a fan of him. I'd like to see him in the company, but unfortunately he loses. Pretty bland match. The crowd couldn't care less. I'm going to give it 1 star. You may notice a pattern of feud building here. Matt Hardy attacks Raven as he leaves the building. So I'm guessing Raven's going to come back in at some point, somehow. I wouldn't mind seeing these two go at it. It looks like they're positioning Jeff Hardy to be a single star, so they got to give Matt something to do. A feud with Raven sounds just about right to me. Next, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman come out to do what I think is a tradition, the coronation of the King of the Ring. Not surprisingly, Rob Van Dam comes out and attacks. And here we're setting up a rematch from the previous night, as Brock Lesnar and Rob Van Dam were in the final round of the King of the Ring. Paul Heyman gets steamed and demands an Intercontinental title match, and Vince agrees. Next we have a match that I was very eager to see, Jeff Hardy and The Undertaker. They'd had a couple run-ins in previous weeks, including an absolutely disgusting moment involving Tommy Dreamer's supposed bucket of vomit. Again, not much of a match here. We're doing a lot of setup on this show, much more than I'm accustomed to. Undertaker's performances the last few months are really leaving me cold. He's not performing moves well, he's not moving well, he seems to have lost a step physically. So maybe he's injured, maybe he's fatigued, but he gives another horrible chokeslam to Jeff Hardy here. If you thought the one he gave to Hogan a couple months back was bad, this one outside the ring is just terrible. And considering that these two have already had a few run-ins the last week, they've actually established a storyline between these two, I was expecting an actual match. But nope, it ends very quickly, and they're setting up a ladder match for the following week, which I believe is supposed to be a good match. I saw it on a list of greatest Raw main events or something like that. I mean, at the very least, it won't be any worse than this. 1 star. This next match is the kind of thing that when I see it on the card, I think, oh god, this is gonna suck so bad. It's a tag match. Trish Stratus and Linda Miles versus Molly Holly and Jackie Gata. Linda and Jackie coming off of Tough Enough, and Trish and Molly, who have a decent feud going and had just fought for the women's title the night before. Much like the previous night, when it's Trish and Molly in the ring, it's a strong match. But this is mostly intended to get some TV reps for Linda and Jackie, who don't look even remotely ready to be on Monday Night Raw. Linda and Jackie are both looking very green here. Jackie's afraid to climb the turnbuckle, her legs are shaking, their timings are noticeably off, Linda is not working the mat on her kicks. They're the kind of performances that remind me how skilled pro wrestlers are. It makes me really appreciate the other performers in the women's division, particularly Trish and Molly and Lita, the things they're able to do and the way they're able to project confidence during their matches. But these two are not ready for prime time. There are a couple promos right after this, the first of which features Brock Lesnar actually speaking. I've been waiting for this. I mean, they're obviously grooming this guy, but there's not much they can do with him if he can't talk. He seems okay on the mic, he doesn't say much, but I was glad to see it. Then we've got a hallway promo with the NWO. Man, I gotta say, for as much as I like Shawn and Kevin, these guys are putting out some trash promos. I mean, X-Pac is never good in these situations, but those other two should be stepping up. Speaking of the NWO, half of them are coming to the ring. We've got X-Pac and Big Show versus Booker T and Goldust. Something I want to mention about this show is that the crowd has been very lukewarm. And I can't blame them, they haven't been given much to get excited about. Although, maybe it's an Ohio thing, because King of the Ring, that crowd the previous night wasn't so hot either. But this match here is the part of the night where they start making some noise. The X-Pac sucks chant is the most energetic the crowd had been all night up to that point. There are a couple notable maneuvers in this match. Booker T and Goldust double team on a suplex on the Big Show, that was pretty impressive to see. Goldust does a hilarious face-humping Bronco Buster on X-Pac, that made me laugh. And the crowd's behind this one. This is a feud I've enjoyed so far because I like the personalities, but we definitely need to get Shawn and Kevin into the mix. And I hope they develop stakes for this rivalry, because it's really just people going back and forth that have nothing on the line. Good performances across the board in this match. I'll give it 2.5 stars. Alright, and it's main event time. The Intercontinental Championship on the line. Brock Lesnar versus the champ, Rob Van Dam. Something I'll be talking about in my King of the Ring 2002 episode is how the final match, Brock Lesnar and Rob Van Dam, was a big letdown. They were energetic, they were working well together, and then the match ends around the 5-minute mark. It's nice to see these guys back at it, and they're both on their game again. This is one of the better performances I've seen out of Brock. He's doing the same feats of strength, those continue to impress, but he's also pacing his movements and the match well. He's allowing Rob Van Dam to sell. He's executing some really good belly-to-belly suplexes that the crowd's going wild for. I hope this is a rivalry that'll be going for a little while. I'm guessing it won't be, because Brock is going to win the title in a few months, I'm pretty sure, so he's got to start mixing it up with some of the big boys. Also of note is Paul Heyman getting a frog splash performed on him. That was great to see. And he took it pretty well. I mean, he threw his arms up by his chest, but he took it like a champ. Strong performances here, good crowd reaction. I'll give this one 3 stars. And that match closes out the broadcast. So just a couple of notes on this show. Something I didn't really talk about too much is there is a lot of Paul Heyman stuff. Sometimes it grates on me, but he's being comedically over the top. Lots of entertaining over the top stuff from Heyman in this one. Overall, as I've mentioned, pretty disappointing pay-per-view return show. I am trying to be understanding because ever since Stone Cold walked out, they've had to recalibrate some things. They've had to rewrite at least a couple storylines that I can see, particularly Eddie Guerrero. So WWE has to do a reset here, start some new things, put a lot of building blocks in place. It's just a shame they had to do so many of them in one show. I'll give this Raw 2 stars. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoy the show. Hit the like or subscribe if that's the kind of thing you're into. And I will be back with more episodes soon.